What if I told you that some churches meant to be safe havens are actually hiding something darker? Places so disturbing that locals refuse to go near them after dark. These aren't just haunted, they're believed to be literal gates to hell, and today I'm taking you inside. St. Mary's Church, located in Clophill, England, and better known as Satan's Ruins. In the sleepy village of Clophill lies a ruined church that has become infamous for ritualistic black masses and grave desecrations. Now, in 1963, vandals broke into St. Mary's Church, exhumed corpses from the graveyard, and arranged human remains in occult symbols. It shocked the nation, and believe it or not, that was just the beginning. Since then, paranormal investigators have documented seeing glowing orbs, shadow figures moving among the tombstones, and cold winds sweeping through on calm nights. One psychic claimed the site radiates pure malevolence. Local legend says a secret underground chamber beneath the altars where initiations into satanic cults took place, and some claim it's actually still used today. The kicker? Phone and camera batteries reportedly drain instantly when you try to record there at night, so if you visit, be sure to pack a portable charger with you. The Church of the Nine Ghosts in the Philippines, known as the Possessed Parish. This one is hidden in the jungle outside Quezon and is a crumbling stone church locals call Simbahan Siam Namulto, which is the Church of Nine Ghosts. It's said to be haunted by 9 priests who were unalive during World War II. The church is now abandoned, yet travelers swear they've seen ghostly robbed men lined up in the pews just silently watching. Creepy, right? One backpacker took photos and later found 9 blurred figures behind her in every single image, and that's despite her being alone. There's even an audio recording where a woman's voice whispers "Bumalik ka," which is Filipino for "come back." Paranormal groups that investigated the scene reported sudden nausea, burns on their skin, and full body apparitions. Now, many refused to return there, so with that in mind, my recommendation is to not go. Old St. George's Church in the Czech Republic. Now, this one is known as the Living Statues. In 1968, the ceiling collapsed mid-service at Old St. George's Church in Lakova. Now, that incident sparked whispers of a curse, and eventually, the building was actually just left to rot. Now, years later, an artist installed dozens of ghostly statues resembling mourners frozen in prayer, but visitors that go say the statues actually move. Some turn their heads, others disappear entirely, only to reappear the next day in a completely different pose. Tourists report extreme chills, phantom voices reciting Latin prayers, and sensations of being watched from inside the pulpit. One woman who went actually fainted while standing amongst the statues and claimed she saw the face of her deceased mother in one of them. That's just terrifying. Our Lady of the Angels Cathedral, located in Los Angeles, and this one is known as the Screaming Sanctuary. LA's massive Our Lady of the Angels Cathedral was actually built in 2002, so not that long ago, but beneath it lies the site of a 19th century cemetery. Now, during construction, workers uncovered human remains, and ever since, whispers of strange phenomena have followed the church. A priest actually reported that the confessional booths shake violently at night. One security guard actually quit after seeing a woman in a veil walk through a locked glass door, whispering, "You buried me wrong." And during a 2014 midnight mass, a live microphone picked up a scream that none of the people there could actually hear in person. Only those listening online heard it. Audio engineers couldn't explain it either, so it's still a mystery. But the Vatican sent an inquiry the next month, and even still, nada. So visit at your own risk, but report back if you do and let me know how that goes. Borgvanet Church in Sweden. This one has a pastor that never left, reportedly. Now, the Borgvanet Church in northern Sweden is so haunted, it was actually converted into a hotel for ghost hunters. Built in 1876, the rectory was home to many pastors who all reported violent poltergeist activity, and one claimed he was even thrown from his chair by invisible hands. Visitors who go here hear crying babies, doors slam on their own, and chairs that are rocking by themselves. Now, a photo from 1981 reportedly shows a woman in 19th century clothing floating in a hallway. Now, if you stay the night, you're actually given a certificate, but most don't actually make it until dawn. So one woman locked herself in the bathroom for hours, saying something was trying to crawl into her body. So you literally get a certificate if you make it. It's kind of like when a burger joint gives you a prize if you finish their like 20-pound burger in 30 minutes. Honestly, I love a good challenge. This one seems worth it to try. I mean, I'm not gonna go, but you go and come back and tell me if you made it. We'll be waiting. Stoll Church in Kansas, USA, which is also known as the Devil's Gateway. Now, the Stoll Cemetery and church are so feared, some locals won't actually say its name out loud. Legend says a hidden staircase beneath the church ruins leads directly to hell, and that the devil himself rises there twice a year, once on Halloween and once on the spring equinox. Now, the church was mysteriously torn down in the 90s at some point, but stories persist. Visitors have seen hooded figures appear behind gravestones and then just vanish. Electronics fail instantly, and one woman claims her unborn baby stopped kicking in her belly during her visit and only resumed movement when they actually left the grounds. So that's creepy. Even Pope John Paul II reportedly diverted his plane around Kansas to actually avoid flying over Stoll. So yeah, this one is a no for me. I'm good. Notre Dame de la Garde in Marseille, France. Now, this is the Church of Unanswered Prayers. Known as the protector of sailors, this basilica in Marseille has a dark undercurrent. During storms, prayers are basically offered here to keep boats safe, but locals say if your prayer is rejected, you'll know instantly. Several fishermen have gone missing at sea after visiting the church and reportedly mocking its sacredness. Now, inside, people have heard whispers in Italian or Latin despite no one being nearby. A journalist caught a photo of what looks like a black shadow with horns looming in the upper gallery. Some visitors describe being overcome with grief and dread despite, entering feeling completely normal. Locals say the church knows who you are and what you've done. I don't need my dirty laundry aired out, so I'm gonna pass on this one. Poviglia Island Church in Italy. Now, this is the island of no return, as you know. Now, off the coast of Venice lies Poviglia Island, once a quarantine zone for plague victims and later home to an asylum. The island has a crumbling church where the bell tower still rings, even though the bell was removed years ago. Legend says a doctor who basically tormented patients threw himself from the tower after claiming he was being dragged to hell by ghosts. His body was never recovered. No one lives there now. Locals say if you try to set foot on the island, you'll never feel clean again, whatever that means. And some believe the church was never holy to begin with, only built to hide the evil beneath it. Churches are meant to be places of peace, right? Forgiveness and light, but these are the ones where the light no longer reaches. Whether cursed, abandoned, destroyed, each of these churches have become something else entirely, maybe even gates to hell. Which one creeped you out the most? Drop your answer below. If you're brave enough, visit one of these places. Don't forget to say a prayer before you do. Thanks so much for watching. I'm your host Ashley. Until next time, stay scared. These scary places you're not allowed to visit have some demonic activity going on, so count your lucky stars. You're forbidden to take a trip to any of them. Poviglia Island in Italy, also known as the Island of the Damned. They say you can still hear the screams of the tormented souls who passed away here. Poviglia Island in Venice is completely off limits to tourists, and for good reason. It was used as a quarantine zone during the Black Plague, where over 160,000 infected people were sent there to pass away. Later, in the early 1900s, a psychiatric hospital was built on the island where legend says a deranged doctor performed lobotomies and eventually threw himself off the bell tower after claiming he was being tormented by demons himself. Now, locals refuse to go near it. Fishermen won't even drop anchor nearby. It's still a haunted island to this day, so go at your own risk.
Our first stop takes us to Kansas City, Missouri, and St. Mary's Episcopal Church. Here, rumors persist of a 19th century priest whose spirit is unable to find peace. This was no ordinary priest. Arriving in a city rife with anti-Catholic sentiment, his own leanings towards Catholic traditions and rumors of scandalous behavior made him a target. Accusations flew, his reputation was dragged through the mud, and ultimately, his life ended abruptly by poison. But his passing was not the end for Father Jardine. Many who have been near St. Mary's late at night report an unsettling feeling of being watched. Strange footsteps echo in the empty building, and the phantom scent of incense fills the air, even when no candles are lit. Some have even claimed to see the shadowy figure of a priest with a flickering candle in the second-story window, a silent sentinel forever bound to the church he served and the controversies that consumed him. Father Jardine's spirit, forever in torment, a chilling reminder that judgment and scandal can leave an indelible mark, even in the most sacred of places. Our next destination leads us to the vibrant yet haunted city of New Orleans, Louisiana, and the majestic St. Louis Cathedral. Beneath its soaring spires and stained glass windows lurks the spectral presence of Père Antoine. This man of the cloth was a significant figure in the city's early days, even officiating the marriage of the legendary voodoo queen, Marie Laveau. But his story has a darker twist. Whispers claim Père Antoine was secretly connected to the Spanish Inquisition, though eventually exiled and later returning as a beloved figure. Some believe the weight of his past deeds, the secrets he carried, tether his spirit to the cathedral grounds. They say his shadowy figure can still be glimpsed through the stained glass windows during Mass, a silent observer of the faithful. Others claim to feel his unseen presence in the quiet gardens behind the cathedral, a lingering echo of a life intertwined with both the sacred and the shadowed. Père Antoine, forever bound to the St. Louis Cathedral, a haunting reminder that even within holy walls, secrets can leave an eternal imprint. Across the Atlantic, in Louisville, Kentucky, stands the imposing First Church of Christ Scientist. Here, tragedy has woven a dark thread into the fabric of the building. Local sightings of the Lady of the Stairs, a young woman, forever pacing the steps. They say she was a member of a prominent family, deeply in love with a soldier. Their secret meetings took place right here, on these very stairs, under the watchful gaze of the church. Their plan was to escape, to be together despite her family's wishes. But on the night they were to meet at this sacred place, he never came. She waited, a jilted bride, her heart shattering with each passing moment. Unbeknownst to her, tragedy had struck. Her beloved soldier had succumbed to illness at a nearby camp. Chilled to the bone, believing herself abandoned, she returned home, only to fall ill herself. And in a cruel twist of fate, she too passed away, never knowing the truth. Now, they say her spectral figure still walks those stairs, forever waiting for a love that will never return. We now journey north to Manitoba, Canada, and the seemingly serene Saint Andrew's on the Red. But don't let its peaceful facade fool you. This historic church is said to be haunted by not one, but two unsettling figures. Who are they? Some say they might be former community members, their spirits unable to find rest. Others speculate they could be Captain William Kennedy and his wife. Their story now woven into the very fabric of this haunted place. The church itself seems to hold its breath, with reports of the antique pipe organ playing by itself when no one is there. And those who dare to venture near at night speak of glowing red eyes that drift through the cemetery trees, watching, waiting. St. Andrew's on the Red, a place where history and the supernatural collide, a chilling reminder that some stories and some spirits never truly fade. Our final stop brings us to the ancient heart of London, England, to St. Bartholomew's Church. Within the ancient walls of St. Bartholomew's Church, a figure is said to roam, the ghost of a monk named Raher. This was no ordinary cleric. In the 12th century, Raher, a man known for his charm, experienced a powerful vision that led to the very founding of this sacred place. But his connection to the church didn't end with his passing. Centuries later, during renovations, Raher's tomb was opened. Inside, his skeleton lay undisturbed, still wearing his monk's sandals. And here's where the tale takes a truly unsettling turn. It's said that a workman, in a moment of thoughtless folly, took one of Rahira's sandals, bones and all. Days later, the man returned, pale and shaken, claiming a sudden illness had befallen him. He returned the sandal, but the damage was done. Legend now chills the very stones of Saint Bartholomew's. On moonlit nights, they say the spectral form of Rahir can be seen gliding through the aisles, a silent, desperate search in his eternal quest for his missing foot. A ghostly monk, forever bound to his earthly remains, a chilling reminder that even in hallowed halls, some spirits find no rest.
Starting off with the Cursed Chapel of the Damned. Now, St. Mary's Church in England, St. Mary's Church in the small village of Botsford, England, is a place of dark legend. According to local lore, the church is haunted by the ghost of a young girl who was brutally unalived by a satanic cult in the 17th century. Visitors to the church have reported strange occurrences, including unexplained noises, moving shadows, and an intense feeling of dread. Local resident Sarah Jenkins had said once, "I've been visiting St. Mary's for years, and I've always felt a sense of unease, but one night I saw a ghostly figure of a young girl standing in the pews. It was like nothing I've ever seen before." Now, the Witches of Belvoir is one of the most famous tales of English witchcraft here. In the early 1600s, Joan Flower lived in Botsford with her two daughters, Philippa and Margaret, who worked as servants for the Earl of Rutland at Belvoir Castle. Now, unpopular in their community and distrusted by the rest of the staff at the castle, the sisters were dismissed actually for stealing. Now, according to local legend, the Flower women swore revenge on the Earl and attacked his two sons and heirs to basically the earldom of witchcraft. Now, the story is immortalized in Botsford local church. The Earl's tomb, which lies inside the building, commemorates the unusual passing of the two boys, noting both of them perished in their infancy by wicked practices and sorcery. To this day, St. Mary's Church in Botsford hosts the only known tomb in England to determine witchcraft as the cause of passing. The Devil's Playground, the Cathedral of St. John the Divine in New York City. Now, the Cathedral of St. John the Divine in New York City is one of the largest cathedrals in the world, but despite its grandeur, the cathedral has a very dark history of paranormal activity. According to reports, the cathedral is haunted by the ghost of a former priest who made a pact with the devil. A visitor named Mark Davis said, "I was exploring the cathedral one night when I heard strange noises coming from the crypt. I went down to investigate and saw a figure in a priest's robe standing in the shadows. It was like he was watching me." A guide to the cathedral from 1921 suggested that it might take 700 years for the cathedral to actually be completed, since it was built by employing true Gothic building methods. However, as of right now, it appears that the cathedral will never be completed. A temporary ceiling consisting of tiles is still in place, a century after it was supposed to be demolished so that the cathedral spire could basically rise. Now, St. John the Divine claims to be the largest cathedral in the world, defined as a church that is also the seat of a bishop. Measured by length or internal volume, it is one of the 5 largest church buildings in the entire world. Additionally, it possesses the largest rose window in the United States. The window, which is the 5th largest in the world, was constructed out of 10,000 pieces of stained glass. Just south of the cathedral lies its 11.3-acre close or campus. Visitors can actually stroll through the garden where the different plants and all species mentioned in the Bible. One of the close highlights, is the Peace Fountain, which is designed in 1985 by Greg Wyatt. The fountain was created to mark the 200th anniversary of the Diocese of New York. Now, it depicts the Archangel Michael embracing one of the 9 giraffes after his defeat of Satan. The Haunted Hermitage, the Chapel of the Holy Spirit, which is located in France. Now, the Chapel of the Holy Spirit in the French countryside is a small, isolated church that's said to be haunted by the ghost of a former monk. According to local legend, the monk made a pact with the devil in exchange for spiritual enlightenment. A local resident, Pierre Dupont, said, "I've been visiting the chapel for years. I've always felt a sense of peace, but one night I saw a ghostly figure of a monk standing in the hallway. It was like he was trying to communicate with me. Now, the chapel in Rue, built between 1440 and 1515, is a major example of Gothic, flamboyant Picard art. Now, the Chapel of the Holy Spirit is located in the city center on a hill and is listed in the supplementary inventory of historic monuments. It was previously known as the Chapel of the Lennox Hospital before it actually moved in 1981. According to local legend, Brother Etienne was a devout monk who basically lived in the chapel during the 17th century. Etienne was known for his extreme devotion and his dedication to the church. However, as time went on, Etienne became increasingly disillusioned with the church and its teachings. One night, Etienne made a pact with the devil in exchange for spiritual enlightenment and a lot of power. The devil granted Etienne's wish, but at a terrible cost. Etienne's body began to wither away, and he became consumed by an intense feeling of darkness and despair. Now, several paranormal investigation teams have visited the chapel, and many have reported strange occurrences. Some have captured evidence of ghostly apparitions and unexplained noises. A paranormal investigator named Marie Martin said, "We investigate the chapel and captured some compelling evidence of paranormal activity. We believe that Etienne's ghost is still trapped in the chapel and that his pact with the devil has cursed the place." The Cursed Congregation, the First Baptist Church located in Texas. Now, the First Baptist Church in the small town of Sutherland Springs, Texas, is a place of dark legend. According to local lore, the church is haunted by the ghost of a former pastor who is possessed by the devil. A former congregant, Emily Wilson, said, "I was attending a service at the church when I saw the pastor's eyes turn black. It was like he was possessed by something evil. I've never been back to that church again," of course. The First Baptist Church in Texas, particularly the one in Sutherland Springs, became infamous for the 2017 mass attack, leaving first responders and the community haunted by the horror of the event. On November 5th, 2017, a man launched an attack with a fatal weapon at First Baptist Church, fatally hitting 26 people and injuring 20 others. Now, the horrific nature of the carnage left first responders deeply affected, struggling with the trauma and the overwhelming scene. Now, the church, however, is cursed and has a long history dating back to the 19th century, and it's said to be haunted by the ghost of a former pastor who was possessed by the devil. Now, according to the local lore, Pastor Johnson was a very charismatic and influential figure in the church during the early 20th century. However, Johnson's behavior became increasingly erratic and bizarre, and many believe that he was possessed by the devil. One night, Johnson's behavior became so erratic that he was locked in the church's basement. But the next morning, Johnson was found in the pulpit, his eyes black as coal, and his voice changed to a deep, raspy tone. After Johnson's possession, strange occurrences began to happen in the church. Members of the congregation reported hearing noises, ghostly apparitions were seen, and experiencing intense feelings of just fear and dread. Now, many believe that Johnson's possession had cursed the church and that his ghost was still trapped there. The Devil's Domain, the Cathedral of Santiago de Compostela in Spain. Now, the cathedral in Spain is one of the most famous pilgrimage sites in the world, but despite its sacred significance, the cathedral has a dark history of paranormal activity. According to reports, the cathedral is haunted by the ghost of a former priest who made a deal with the devil. A visitor named Maria Rodriguez said, "I was visiting the cathedral when I saw a ghostly figure of a priest standing in the sanctuary. It was like he was trying to warn me of something." Now, at night, when the lights of the city are on, a shadow of, a pilgrim is said to appear on the wall of the cathedral. The story goes that a priest who was in love with a nun from the San Pao convent would meet her secretly in a passage under the stairs. One night, the priest asked the nun to run away with him, but she never came. She just didn't show up. The priest returned and waited in anguish for his love, dressed as a pilgrim, and has been waiting every night since. That's heartbreaking. You can find the shadow in the deep corner between the base of the clock tower and the royal door, behind a low fence next to the lighting pillar. There are other versions of this story, of course, including one actually about a criminal who was ordered to make a pilgrimage to Santiago to redeem his sins, but instead became involved in just more crimes. The first myth tells that this shadow is the soul of a criminal who was trapped in the cathedral. It states that a 15th century French nobleman was convicted of unaliving his father out of greed. To redeem his sins, he was ordered to make a pilgrimage to Santiago. However, far from, repenting and purifying himself, during his journey, he became involved in several conflicts that culminated in the assassination of 2 young men. When he arrived in the city exhausted and with no place to rest, he decided to sleep at the doors of the cathedral. Around midnight, though, the ghost of his father appeared to him to forgive him for unaliving him, but told him that he must pay for the demise of the 2 pilgrims. Therefore, he condemned the Frenchmen to wait eternally in the Quintana until their souls reached and finished their journey.